Chapter 502, The Scene in Azik's Memories. Puh. Klein stretched out his hand and caught the slightly heavy letter. The large skeleton messenger didn't stay, and it immediately disintegrated into a fountain of bones. One bone after another fell to the deck and disappeared, as though it didn't want to stay a second longer. With the letter firmly in his hand, Klein didn't lower his head to examine it. Instead, he instinctively turned around and looked at the wooden staircase leading to the first-class cabins. He saw Donna and Denton with their eyes wide and mouths agape, as though they wanted to scream at the sight of the scene, but everything they saw was over before they could make a sound. As a result, they even wondered if they were hallucinating. The children who eat the special cured meat in Daymare Harbor gain temporary spirit vision to a certain degree. Klein's brows twitched slightly as he raised his left hand's index finger vertically and placed it against his mouth to silence the two young ones, just like he did while the Murloc hunt was happening. The already rather tall Donna immediately raised her hand and covered her mouth. She nodded in fear and excitement, indicating that she understood. When she looked diagonally down, she saw that her brother was still in a daze. She quickly grabbed his arm and pushed his hand against his mouth. Cleves and Cecile sensed that something was wrong with them. They stopped and looked at Klein, but they discovered nothing. Facing their stares, Klein calmly nodded and continued walking to his room. A gold coin had appeared in his hand without anyone realizing. It was tossed up, and it tumbled around as though it possessed life. Ding! The gold coin landed with a number facing up, indicating a negative result. This meant that the tiny episode wouldn't be detrimental to Klein. Seriously, the current messenger isn't polite at all. It's not like the previous one who would tap my shoulder or nudge my body to give an advance warning, or just convert my surroundings into a spiritual world to prevent ordinary people from seeing him. Klein lampooned as he took out his key and opened the door. He sat down on the edge of the low bed, lit a candle with only half its length remaining, and opened Mr. Azik's response letter. As he pulled out the items inside, the first one that caught his eye was the Black Emperor card. Looking at that face which pissed him off, Klein let out a breath of relief and eased his worries. He wasn't afraid that Mr. Azik wouldn't return it to him, as he had that minimum level of trust. After all, the potion formula and corresponding rituals could be copied, and only the convergence properties of high-level materials couldn't be imitated. And since this was clearly not Azik's pathway, nor was it one of the switchable paths available to him, so a powerhouse like him had no need for it. Klein was worried that the messenger would be robbed, losing the card of blasphemy, which would help him tremendously while in his spirit-body state. This wasn't impossible. The number of strange creatures in the spirit world was hard to count, so it isn't hard to end up having a few who were good at locating messengers and robbing them. The Black Emperor card was returned along with the copper whistle from the Numinous Episcopate. After temporarily putting away these two items, Klein unfolded the important letter and read Azik's reply. That card that depicts the Black Emperor reminds me of certain scenes. The Talaza Mountain Blood Emperor who wore a red cape with his eyes being abnormally crazy, containing almost zero reasoning. He was on the brink of losing control. There was the true Black Emperor who had revived. He sat on a gigantic throne overlooking the land. When I looked up at them, I lost consciousness when the Blood Emperor looked at me. I should have, in some form, participated in the War of the Four Emperors, but the exact details still require me to recall them. Perhaps it was because of an injury from back then that caused me to lose my memories again and again as I repeatedly died and reawakened. The legend of death's treasure trove in the Berserk Sea doesn't ring any bells. Perhaps I'll be able to sense something and be naturally attracted to it when I travel to the southern continent by boat and pass through that sea. The experiences of the owner of that copper whistle resemble that of an undying's ritual, but there are also clear differences. I can sense evil auras and the premonition of danger. I believe the owner of the copper whistle is in a strange and terrifying state. It's best that you don't blow that copper whistle and summon the messenger. This will bring extreme danger. We can make further attempts when I fully recover my memories and figure out what that experience really means. The feather left behind by the copper whistle's owner that you mentioned can be used in the domain of the undead. It's a unique material that's rich in spirituality. When I recall more, I'll organize the knowledge of some rituals and charms you can use with it for you. Speaking of this matter, I recall that you'd asked me about the method for ridding the mental corruption of a beyonder characteristic. This will likely need more time. At the very least, I'm still a blank slate in this aspect. Also, I vaguely remember that in the southern continent, there are strange creatures called feathermen. It's best to seal that card, otherwise it might attract powerful enemies and many disasters. I can give you some techniques. This isn't too difficult. First, an improved wall of spirituality. As expected, the card of blasphemy has a convergence effect upon activation. It's a good thing that I've left it above the gray fog in the past. According to Mr. Azik's descriptions, he shouldn't be an amnesiac death. Otherwise, he wouldn't have looked up to the Blood Emperor and the Black Emperor. It's likely that he's a son of death, participating in the War of the Four Emperors by accompanying that deity. Unfortunately, he suffered from severe injuries. As he thought, Klein produced a flame and burned the letter. Then, he tried the sealing technique and practiced what Azik had taught him in the letter. After doing all of this, he held a ritual and brought the Black Emperor card and the numinous episcopate's copper whistle into the mysterious space above the gray fog, eliminating all possibilities of any accidents. There was no doubt that Klein had no wish to suddenly meet the king of the five seas, Nast, at sea. Early in the morning, the sun rose above the horizon and dyed it golden. Klein went to the not-so-well-stocked second-class buffet cafeteria and ate 2 slices of toast with bacon and butter, and drank a cup of lemon tea. After filling his stomach, he went to the deck to breathe in the fresh air and enjoy the beautiful early morning scenery. Then he saw a drunk Captain Elland returning, his straight sword swaying. Thinking back to last night's incident, Klein came over and said without a smile, "Good morning. White Shark didn't cause you any trouble, right?" He should be able to determine that I'm a passenger of the White Agate. Dressed in a dark red coat, Ellen took off his ship-shaped hat and laughed. This is his own problem. Actually, he wanted you to pay half the repair fees for the bar counter, but that isn't much. It's just a few solely. I happened to win £6 last night and gave him some extra tips, and that was the end of it. Captain, are you afraid that a crazy adventurer like me will blow the whole thing up just for the sake of face? So you ended up choosing to bear the compensation. Klein was silent for a few seconds. I understand. Then he turned and walked back to the bow, leaving 2 soft words, "Thank you." When Klein returned to his original position, he felt the sea breeze blowing against his face. He slowly let out a breath, feeling that it was too goddamn hard to force a persona. After enjoying the wind for a while, he was about to return to the cabin when 2 figures suddenly appeared beside him. They were Donna and Denton. Cecile, who was in charge of protecting them, was a few paces away. Donna had obviously not slept well last night. Her eyes were puffy, and her face was gloomy, but she was in high spirits. She was obviously imitating Klein's taking in of the scenery, but her eyes were darting around nimbly. Just as Denton, who was in a similar state as her, wanted to speak, she spoke first. "Uncle, who was that last night?" As she spoke, she looked ahead without turning her head, but her body was trembling slightly, as though she was recalling the scene she had seen. It was a messenger. You can think of him as a postman. Klein also didn't look at the 2 little kids, as though he was talking about what he had for breakfast. Messenger, Denton almost lost control of the volume of his voice. The world is so huge, so there's bound to be some strange creatures in this world. Trust me, although this creature looks very ferocious and terrifying, it's actually very gentle and professional. It just sent me a letter on behalf of a friend who's far away, Klein explained slightly, trying to describe the 4-meter-tall messenger as pitiful, weak, and helpless. After a night of panic, and because she hadn't been harmed in any way, Donna was much calmer. Her eyes lit up as she said, "Well, that's amazing. It's like listening to a story." "Very cool," Denton also expressed his opinion. Then he puzzledly asked, "But why didn't anyone else see it? No one had any response." "That's because your hearts are pure," Klein smiled. This was a white lie. After all, he couldn't just say that it was a problem with the special cured meat. That would only make the two curious little fellows fail to resist making attempts. This way, ignoring the fact that ingesting large amounts of it would cause one to fall ill, just randomly having spirit vision activated was a very dangerous matter. Even though Klein could now sustain the consumption of his spirit vision for a long period of time, he ultimately didn't dare keep it open. Sometimes, seeing things he shouldn't have seen could lead to madness or death. "See, can we have a messenger of our own?" Donna asked, curious and excited. "That will depend on luck," Klein answered simply and calmly. He couldn't help but lampoon inwardly. "I don't even have a messenger of my own." In order to obtain a messenger, he had to design an accurate summoning ritual and prepare the corresponding spirit world creature contract. This was a specialized field of knowledge, and randomly doing so could easily summon something bad, so Klein didn't dare to recklessly try it. Yeah, Donna looked forward to it. Then she said in a tiny voice, "Uncle, we'll keep this a secret for you." Beside her, Denton nodded solemnly. At this moment, a new passenger that intended to board in Daymere Harbor carried his suitcase as he walked onto the deck. After sending the telegram, Blazing Danitz considered that the captain might instruct him on certain matters. So he decided to cut the holiday short and await orders at the capital of the Rorstad archipelago. Through his own channels, he had obtained a ticket, put on a wig, blackened his eyebrows, and easily boarded the White Agate, waiting for the liner to blow its whistle. Sigh, as Emperor Roselle said, capable people always have to do a little bit more work. As Danitz walked towards the cabin, he looked around leisurely. Suddenly, he saw a familiar figure. It was a young adventurer in a black coat, gentle in appearance and mad in nature. He was standing at the bow of the ship, beaming at him like a gentleman. The muscles in Danitz's face began to stiffen.